Hello, gringos y gringas, beaners and beanerettes. Welcome back to El Racist Latino. I am your host, Rafael Andres Contreras, and today we have the second episode of Who is Jeffrey Epstein? Which, by the way, let me say right now, I think I made a huge mistake. The idea of this Who is was not only to do Jeffrey Epstein, was to do Who is many other interesting people. And I realized my plan was to do each person from start to finish and then do a new person. However, I don't think this Epstein shit is gonna ever end. So I think I just got myself in a little bit of a pickle, and I think I'm just gonna fucking do other Who is parallel. We will see how that develops. For now, I wanna put in a couple of episodes of the Jeffrey Epstein one anyway. Maybe I'll do like 10 before I start a new one. And yeah, I already have an idea. I got into trouble because I got an idea like shit. I have a good idea who to make now, which profile to make now, and then I thought, man, how long do I have to wait before I can do it? This Epstein is gonna be forever. So yeah, we will see, but that's the idea. The idea is to each episode uh, go through the life, in this case, of Jeffrey Epstein. In the first episode, I started some sort of a timeline, right? Using the software Obsidian. However, Obsidian didn't offer me enough money, and yeah, they think I'm some cheap whore, and no, 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 bro, no, that's not how it is. So yeah, so now actually I just found a better software that actually open source. So it's like obviously getting no money for this. An open software that shows timelines in a better way than I wanted to build in Obsidian. I was working on it and I just don't like how it looks. So I was looking for a new way and I found a new source. So as for the moment, I am just moving what we did in the episode number one, all of this information. I am moving all this to the new software. And in the meantime, today we are gonna listen to an interview from Tim Dillon. And if you don't know who Tim Dillon is a stand-up comedian and political commentator, probably the best ranter in the business. Hilarious, and he's very famous for having basically no reservations regarding what he talks about. People are very pissed at him because he reveals private things that he had a private dinner with um, JD Vance. God, I forgot. With JD Vance, and he got kicked out of the Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival just for just making jokes and being like my hero. His show is once a week, the Tim Dillon show on Saturdays. I think I already said this in a previous episode. You cannot miss Tim Dillon show. Luckily for us, this Saturday he had an interview with Ryan Grimm, who is one of the, I don't know if he's an official professional journalist, but one of the investigators, in case he isn't, in the show called Breaking Points. And like that, the microphone appeared. It's not that I forgot about it. Fuck. Just realized. Thank God I listened to the clip that what I already recorded, and it actually, you can hear me, so this microphone must be pretty good. Maybe I should even talk a little bit further. And so I will keep going. So Ryan Grimm, he works for Breaking Point, one of the investigative journalists of Breaking Point. Is a show on YouTube, very very nice, with Sadar, Indian dude, and some Crystal Ball is her name. It's hilarious. So they do pretty good work, especially on Epstein. And as you're gonna hear Tim Dillon himself say, probably there's nobody that has done more work than Ryan Grimm on Jeffrey Epstein. So he's gonna give us the last updates while I start building this timeline. It's not that I'm gonna change the strategy. I still wanna have the visual timeline of the whole thing. I still wanna build it and I still wanna share it, but it's gonna take a bit longer than expected. The building part of it, the coding or designing. Nobody's coding anymore, as AI is doing everything, but you know what I mean. So the behind the scenes work. So what we're gonna do until then, while I build this with the basic ground information before we can start actively putting things in, is I am going to we're gonna just watch interviews and podcasts about Jeffrey Epstein, and don't always take notes of facts and stuff that I'm gonna add until the thing is ready. And then once it's ready, we're still gonna watch podcasts and stuff, but we will add things live in real time. And we can then, every episode, at the end of every episode, we will see how the whole timeline starts to build up. And the more things we add, then the more detail it gets. So that's the goal. And hopefully within 5 to 10 episodes, we can have something like of value, something interesting and understandable, and something that we can all see and kind of, the whole puzzle. I'm taking all the puzzles, all the pieces of the puzzle that are just scrambled away, and try to build a puzzle, so to speak. And in this case, building for me in my brain means chronologically. So that's how my brain understands things better. So it's here ready. So we're gonna watch the interview with Tim Dillon and Ryan Grimm. I watched maybe 5 minutes of it, and then I got the live bulb because on Saturday I was watching Tim Dillon's show, and for the first 40 minutes of this video we're gonna watch, he does his monologue show. So I watched everything, and then at the end, turns out it was also an interview with Ryan Grimm about Epstein. So I watched about 5 minutes, and I thought, oh shit, I gotta react to this on camera. So that's what we're gonna do. Anyway, so let's get ready for the second episode of Who is Jeffrey Epstein. And please, before we start, the only favor I'm gonna ask, like, comment. It really, really helps with the algorithm. If you didn't subscribe yet, please subscribe. And if you like my shit and you think one of your friends is gonna like it too, share it with them. And yeah, all of the stuff that I just here to remind you, because I also forget. Actually, you see, I didn't even like this video. Well, I just followed him, but I'm gonna like it right away. Okay, thanks for that, and let's get right to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Ryan Grimm, who writes at Dropsite News, which has done the best reporting on the Epstein case. This is not even debatable. We talked about one of their articles a few weeks ago where Jeffrey Epstein was back-channeling to try to get a meeting with Vladimir Putin, between Vladimir Putin.
Should I keep the subtitles on? Because Tim speaks pretty clear. Let's do it without.
And ex-Israeli.
So the article that is on screen says Jeffrey Epstein and the Mossad. How the sex trafficker helped Israel build a back channel to Russia amid Syrian civil war. Help Israel build a back channel to Russia.
The ex-Israeli prime minister, to talk about the Syrian civil war. We talked about that on the show. And people send me Dropsite News all the time and go, you got to read this article. Steve Bannon, and again, you guys aren't ideologically aligned, but Steve Bannon has even praised you as a good journalist. Like, people
so he's a journalist?
From many different political persuasions, even I think people on the Epstein list are saying this is good. Even the pedophiles are going, he's doing the work. So,
like, hey, this is legit.
So Ryan, thank you again for coming. I appreciate it. It's the holidays, and I appreciate you making time for us. If you could sum up as just an introductory statement for the uninitiated, when you look at this new dump of Epstein files that just came out, number one, tell people, surmise for people what exactly you think the Epstein operation was, if there was one. The FBI says said that there wasn't. but they have all these files suggesting maybe there is. What was this operation? And
Oh no.
I don't know how many of these files you've looked through, and
Never mind.
the new files. Has any of
Why I don't hear anymore?
So, Ryan, thank you again for coming. I appreciate it. It's the holidays, and I appreciate you making time for. So, Ryan, thank you again for coming. I appreciate it. It's the holidays, and I appreciate you making time for us. If you could sum up as just an introductory statement for the uninitiated, when you look at this new dump of Epstein files that just came out, number one, tell people, surmise for people what exactly you think the Epstein operation was, if there was one. The FBI says said that there wasn't, but they have all these files suggesting maybe there is.
Right.
What was this operation? And I don't know how many of these files you've looked through in the new files. Has any of your opinion changed with regard to the scope of the operation, the intent of the operation, or any of the key players?
Yeah, I think that my take on this is actually usually you go into the reporting and you find out that the story you're looking for isn't quite all the way there. It's not quite as interesting as you kind of imagined that it might be. This kind of has been the reverse. Like this, you keep peeling the layers back and you're like, oh, wow, that was true. That was true. That was true. And on and on. When they say there was no Epstein operation, it's like the guy's been doing a lot of operating for many decades. And at some point, you're going to have to call that an operation because he keeps becoming involved and he keeps being found from Iran-Contra all the way up to the things that you were talking about.
I'm gonna put it right now. I'm gonna put Iran-Contra in the list of podcast breakdown because that is a super, super interesting story that I do not know much about. So basically what happened in Iran-Contra, like I said, I don't know much about, but the US was, there was the war in Iran, some rebellion, and then there was the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, and they were taking drugs from Nicaragua to sell them so they could buy guns from Iran and give it back to the Sandinistas so they can keep fighting. Something like this. Please don't quote me. It might be all wrong what I just said and ridiculous. I understand. It's possible because I don't know much about it. That's why I just put it in the list so we can learn about it together. So soon you will have a podcast breakdown on the Iran-Contra scandal, I guess.
Syrian civil war, like a lot going on in Africa, which was a piece of Iran.
We were talking. That's what I said a couple hours ago when I filmed the. I'm doing this back to back, so I just finished the Somaliland episode, and now we just hear an hour later. Yeah, everything is like a lot is happening in Africa.
As on in Africa, which was a piece of Iran-Contra as well, the kind of unspoken piece of it. The fact that he focused so much on Africa really shows that he really does kind of know where power flows and where money, commodities, and resources flow. So yeah, there's an awful lot there.
Wow.
Yeah, part of the question with Jeffrey Epstein has always
So basically he just implied or basically said directly that Epstein was very involved in Africa as well, which I had no idea. I just found out. And it's not like I'm the biggest Epstein expert, but I know my shit. And I never heard of this. Cool.
Always been about definitions. Is he an agent? Is he an associate? Is
Right.
he a what in the murky world of intelligence? What was Jeffrey Epstein? Was he employed by the Mossad or
Very
the
good
CIA
question. You see,
or
Tim, man.
MI6?
Fuck.
Was he a liaison that worked with all of these different agencies? From your reporting, what would you call him if you had to call him
Right.
something?
Well, we don't have a W-9 or anything from Epstein, and I think that kind of misunderstands
I guess that means like an employee registration or something, right?
the relationship. Like if you think about Mossad, for instance, or the CIA, like running people, yeah, they are organizations and they have ambitions, they have projects, but he was operating at a layer above. I
Right.
think the Mossad and the CIA, they're there to serve the major power centers, throughout the world, and different factions within them serve different factions at different times. But if you think of the kind of global elite as kind of organized around that Davos conference, or this Davos crew out there,
Right.
like the CIA, it's more properly understood that CIA works for them, and Jeffrey Epstein was an integral player in that Davos set, and I think sometimes his allies and he himself.
For the people that don't know what he means when he says Davos, that's DAVOS. This is basically the World Economic Forum, or the WEF. They have a yearly meeting in Davos, Switzerland. That's the name of a town in Switzerland, where they basically say to themselves, but also on camera for the whole world to see, what are their globalist and rule the world elite plans for the next year. And of course, lately has been mostly about censorship. And Carl Schwab used to be the president. Now there's the new guy with the fucked up eye. Check this guy out. Like this, the WEF, this is just hilarious. The WEF is like so obviously a satanic enterprise, they cannot even hide it. So the WEF, no, check this out. Carl Schwab, he dresses like fucking what's his name? Holy shit. Darth Vader. Let's see. Check this out. How is this guy not like a Disney bad guy? This motherfucker, he could be Lex Luthor. It's so obvious. And then the new Carl Schwab, the new CEO, is the guy that used to be, I think, let me see if it's I don't know his name anyway, so if it's the one that I think used to be the CEO of Nestle or something, and he's missing one eye, or one of his eyes is like completely red. There's no white in it, it's only red. Check this out. Let's see. Look at this shit. You see? Look at this motherfucker. Look at this guy. And those were the last two. That's the current leader of the WEF. So just by looking at them, I think there's no need for me to give you any more context about who these people are, what they do, what they plan. So when Ryan says Davos, he means those people, the globalists, the elite, the Illuminati, okay, the Masons, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, those be the not deep state. That's like intelligence agencies. Deep state is a little different, but you all know what I mean, right?
Himself he was waning. He's not doing as well. Other times his power is on the rise. That's how it works inside nebulous organizations like this. But he's right there at the center of this fundamentally undemocratic global institution. It's not even an institution. It's just this amoebic type of entity.
So Epstein was at the center of the WEF. That's basically what he's saying.
He's right there in the middle of it, and he still has to jockey for power, but he is then able to deploy his own assets, whether it's Mossad or whether it's people in the CIA, in order to serve he and his allies' own interests,
What?
which sometimes
Yeah.
align with the interests of Israel, sometimes align with the interests of the U.S., but they're also self-serving interests.
What are the main concerns, the primary objectives of the quote Davos set? Is it a monolith, or do those people have varied interests?
I think it's well, they're in competition with each other for each other's resources for sure, but they're also in competition with the 99.9% of the world that doesn't really want them to exist.
Us.
And so what they're trying to do is kind of justify their
And
existence.
yeah, I think Tim Dillon's question, I humbly criticize him, and I mean maybe I would have asked the same question, but with this information that Ryan says, maybe a better question would have been is the conflict that they have between each others because of the resources and because they want to have more power, more resources, and the only thing to do that is to take it from someone else. And yeah, they can take resources from us, but power they have to take from each other because we don't have any power. So I'm sure there's that conflict, but the real question is, do they have more conflict with each other than with us? Because it seems like even though they have conflict with each other, they keep partnering up so they can fuck us over. So it seems to me that what Ryan is saying, or I don't know if he's going to explain it, maybe I'm just a little bit premature and he's going to say it soon, but I would say that their conflict against 99.5% of the population is definitely a bigger priority than the ones with each other, and the one that they invest most time, money, influence, and resources in general. That's my opinion. I doubt that they hate each other more than they hate us, right?
Their existence and maintain their power and justify their existence. That's why when they get together, they often talk about the kinds of things that would be wonderful if they delivered on them. They're going to end world hunger, or they're going to
Yeah.
end illiteracy around the world. They're going to
Yeah, because of course, like you cannot have an organization exist like this, being so openly evil, because they would be too obvious. So of course, what they sell is equality, diversity. These are the people that are pushing the diversity, the green initiatives, the yeah, for them is for them they call it protection when they censor the hate speech, censoring of hate speech, protecting the citizens from getting their feelings hurt, basically, and among other things that are basically just different tools which help them build the end game. And the end game is complete control, 15-minute cities, digital IDs, digital currency with expiration dates, carbon credits, so we can only use a limited amount of carbon per month or whatever. And if you surpass it, your bank account is closed due to the digital currency. And if they give you, when you get paid a salary, you have 6 months to spend it, or that currency will uh, uh, expire, which means that you cannot save money. It's that's the end goal. What tools do they use? They use global warming. We're all gonna die, so we cannot use more than X amount of carbon. It's good for the planet. And the censorship. Hey, you cannot talk about this. But why are we doing it? Are we doing it because we want to quiet the people? Of course not. We're doing it to protect you from all of this disinformation, right? So you see where I'm going. And this is what they push. They push all of this morality. They put all of these good intentions, moral things. They put it on a bullet and they fire it against you. They use it as a weapon against the population. Evil as fuck, obviously.
they're going to go after disease and malnutrition. They're going to reverse climate change, and yet somehow it just all keeps getting worse, and their power continues to grow, and their wealth continues to be concentrated at the very top. So their goal is, I think, self-perpetuation and kind of continuing to lock down, their position in the world, and to keep the public at bay, because they're fundamentally an undemocratic entity.
Someone, Catherine Austin Fitz, described some of the people you're talking about as intergenerational pools of capital.
Yes.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Intergenerational pools of capital. Now, what the fuck does that mean? I feel like a dumbass right now because I don't understand what that means. Hopefully, they'll explain it.
They are, yes, and they're very much transnational.
Right.
Like they are not American. They're not Israeli. They're not Chinese. Like if they're Chinese, they actually have a little bit more strings attached to what they're able to do.
Right.
But in the Western ones, they're looking for their own sovereignty. And what it appears like is going on with Epstein and his work with Israel, and also the UAE. We're going to have a lot more to come about his work with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. What the UAE and
Holy shit, man. They are unloading. So Epstein, that motherfucker was in bed with everyone. We're talking about CIA, MI6, confirm, Mossad, confirm, now Saudi, the UAE intelligence. He was embedded in the WEF and everything going like when they, as they mentioned, the Davos community. Africa. Like, dude, he was a busy bee, wasn't he? And on top of that, he still had time for the molestation and the child trafficking, right?
and Israel both figured out is that when you're operating in this kind of world that is filled with nation states have particular rights. They can vote in the UN, they can set up banks. Those banks can then move money, and those banks are then subject to the laws and the judiciary kind of within those states. And if the national security apparatus controls that judiciary, you can basically be a criminal gang. So the United Arab Emirates, for instance, they're doing enormous amounts of like money laundering. Like if all this wealth that's coming out of Africa flows right into the UAE, and then they skim off the top. You're like, how are they doing this? This is basically mafia stuff. It's like, well, they call themselves a state. They call themselves a government, so they can do that. And Israel does a version of that as well, where the state is aligned with the companies, and they have this protection that they can operate in a way where if they were just private actors, like, wait, you can't do that.
Right. So it's kind of a cartel.
Yeah, right. It's a legalized
mafia,
cartel that operates as a state.
What role does
Basically.
sexual blackmail play in this? Obviously, Epstein spent years
Straight to the jugular.
engaging in horrific abuses, and he was, he got a slap on the wrist. He had a very light sentence regard to the crime. They charged him with a very specific crime. There were many victims. He was only charged with one crime. What role does, number one, do you believe it was a blackmail operation? And then if so, when we talk about these cartels, when we talk about money laundering, we talk about, people that are trying to evade the democratic process, the legal process, what role does Jeffrey Epstein's sexual proclivities, and I'm not saying it lightly, proclivities, but his sexual crimes, what role do they play in this larger picture?
And your point about them only charging him with one girl
His sexual shenanigans.
is a key one.
Yeah.
And his lawyers were so successful, they got him charged with the 17-year-old.
Right.
Even though there were dozens.
Yeah.
And some as young as like 14 or even
Right.
younger. And so then his revisionist friends can say, "Oh, it was 17-year-old.
Right.
What did he didn't know." And then
Right.
you look at it, oh, that's all he got charged with. Okay,
Right.
let's get back into business, buddy. Rather than dozens, like even much younger.
No, I mean, he's a fully evil man. And I think Ghislaine Maxwell's evil. Like, when you read these documents, and even the prior documents, it's very hard to come away with any other picture than that these were evil people engaging in acts of extreme abuse, rape, perhaps murder, we don't know, things like that.
and with total remorse, and doing it on a seems like daily basis
Right,
for
remorseless. Yeah, absolutely.
40 to 50 years. But it's interesting
40 to 50
what you
years.
need a Jeffrey Epstein for. Going back to our kind of transnational cartel operating as a state kind of thing, is that if you want to move money, guns, let's say you want to move weapons from Iran to the Contras in Nicaragua, or you want to move them to some type of rebel group in Africa when Congress has told you can't fund this rebel group in Africa, or you've got blood diamonds that you've got to get moving out. You can't really go to the white shoe firms for that.
Right.
They're going to be like,
Right.
let me get your client here. Like,
Right.
how do we know that this person isn't sanctioned? This appears to be a terrorist organization that
Right.
you're shipping
Right.
weapons to.
Right.
Did you say Iran is involved in this? I
Right,
thought
right,
we're
right.
at war with them.
Yeah.
So what you need is somebody who lives in the gray area. And those people are very useful. And so when the New York Times, for instance, says, there's all these conspiracies about Jeffrey Epstein, but in fact, he's just actually a giant con artist, that's missing the point. To work in that realm of the spy world, in the shadows, you're gonna be a con artist. You're gonna be the kind of person that pushes things beyond to the edge and then over it. And so that's what you see time and time again with Epstein, is that, for instance, we wrote about, actually, I don't know if we've written about this one yet, but George Mitchell, former senator who was Secretary of State under Clinton, he needed to go to Sudan back in the 2000s because he was running for president and he wanted to broker it looked like he was going to broker a truce in Sudan. And in order to get in there, he reached out to Jeffrey Epstein. He's like, who's got the jets? Who can move me into a warlord zone? And it's somebody like Epstein. He ended up not using Epstein, but Epstein was able to put it together. And then he announced a completely fake truce that fell apart a day later, and used it in his presidential campaign. But that's the kind of thing you need him for. Like, I need to move money. I need to move guns, diamonds, minerals, commodities. We need things have to happen. It has to happen quickly, and it has to be done off the books, and that's what
the table.
people like Epstein are for,
And
who just have no
sexual
morality
blackmail,
whatsoever.
is he blackmailing these people and keeping the information himself? Is that information then going to another state like Israel? Is it going to the highest bidder? He's photographing and recording people. Where is all this information going?
We don't yet have evidence of, hey, I've got footage of you.
Right.
You need
Sadly,
to do X.
I don't think we
do
ever
have
will.
him being just absurdly aggressive to people like Leon Black and Les Wexner in emails in a way where.
But I think that the real good shit, it's already in another vault in a Swiss bank or something. I don't think that the CIA disposed of any of these hard drives or anything, or they said they shredded documents. This is valuable information because those people that we don't know yet who they are, what the government calls, we spoke about this in the first Jeffrey Epstein episode, what the government calls victims that we call co-conspirators or perpetrators even. We don't know who they are, so those people are still being blackmailed at the moment. Why would you destroy that information? That's priceless information. And this came to my head when I saw one of the 3 or 4 times I have seen the first John Wick movie, when he goes to this church where the Russian mafia has their vault is under a church, and he burns all these papers and stuff, and then later they catch John Wick and the Russian guys like, this information is priceless. I don't care about the money, but do you realize? And I'm like, fuck this. And he says blackmail and stuff. He even says what the information was. There was blackmail, and I thought, fuck. In that moment, I thought they have never destroyed anything regarding Epstein. They just put it in some other hole, locked the key, threw it away. This is priceless information. There's no money in the world that can buy a video of a powerful person doing some illegal act. So I don't think we will ever see it, not because he has been destroyed, but because it's in some impossible to access vault in some super high security bank or whatever, and only 3 people in the world know the exact location or something, or not even. Like 1/3 of the information is been splitted by 3 people, and they have to get together to figure out something like it has to be like the most important information in the planet, when it comes to intelligence, I guess. If not, top there. Because basically, not only that information that Epstein had, we spoke about this also, there's probably a lot more, and before him, after him. So that information, that database of blackmail information to the most powerful people in the world, what information could be more important? Confirmation of UFOs and aliens, yeah. I don't know what else.
You're like, this is not how the power
This
dynamic
is the
between
keys. These are these hard drives. Do you understand? They are the keys to the Golden Gate, to holding power. Like without this, they start losing this and this congressman and this, and that connects, of course, to what's going on right now with Thomas Massey and other congressmen that are against Israel. And I don't want to go to that tangent, but it's just how important this information is, because it's the hand that is grabbing the balls, and it's like, you move a little bit too far, you press, okay, I'll vote for you. You know what I mean?
between an accountant.
You're not gonna
and
let
a
that grab.
billionaire.
Oh wait,
Two
Right.
billionaires.
not gonna.
Les Wexner,
Right.
billionaire, Leon Black, billionaire.
Right.
So when he's being uber aggressive in those emails, as a journalist, does that lead you to believe that he has some leverage?
What you can say for sure is that there is implicit blackmail going on under there.
Right.
Like, because they allegedly are engaged in all of these types of activities. So just by definition, Epstein would know, and they would know that Epstein knows what he's involved with. Now they deny that, but there's been plenty of reporting that that all his friends and quote unquote friends knew what he was up to.
Right.
Even Ehud Barak, in one of the emails, he's asking how he can win over this banker that he wants to work with for this one this deal, and he says, "Ladies is your forte," to Epstein.
Right.
So it's like, and people who I've talked to who met him within like 30 seconds are like, this guy's a complete and total creep.
Right.
Like he's just oozing creep vibes. So the people that stayed in his life like very much understood that, and so they know in the back of their mind that he knows that. Now at the same time, what the emails and the documents that we've gone through show is that he was actually effective.
Anybody realize what's the kind of problem of what he just said? That within 30 seconds, anybody who would meet Epstein knew that he oozed some kind of creepy energy. And the people that stayed with him, that had a friendship or a relationship with him for a long time, they knew what was going on. Guess who had a very long relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, to the point where they call each other best friends. He was in the speed dial and all that shit. Yeah, let me give you a hint. Yes, everything beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful, beautiful. Orange Man, Donald Trump. So, yeah, take that to the bank.
Effective at doing the things he said he was going to do. Like he's going
Right.
to get you your tax breaks. He's going to get you your meeting with Putin.
I just ordered a Mongolian cashmere crewneck sweater from Quince, and
Jeffrey Epstein is my bestest friend, the best of the best. Yes, so beautiful. He was so nice to me, Jeffrey. He was so nice. When we were on his plane, the Lolita Express, we landed on that island, and all the little girls, they were beautiful, so naked.
free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Tim. Ryan, this is the real question. Jeffrey Epstein is a math teacher at the Dalton School, which is a prep school in New York City, very expensive, very well regarded. He's hired by Bill Barr's father, Donald Barr. Donald Barr wrote a novel about a science fiction novel about the elites of a fake planet.
Listen to this. This is fun. I know about this.
Using sex slaves on that planet. There was a class of people on the planet that were sex slaves. He was a novelist, whatever. I don't know. Is it a...
So there was this man that hired Jeffrey Epstein for his very first job as a teacher in Dalton's school, right? He was fired at the end because, imagine, some allegations from a student, from a female student, that he grabbed her or something. Anyway, the father of that guy that got him the job wrote this science fiction book, right? But check what the science fiction book is about.
Fake planet, using sex slaves on that planet. There was a class of people on the planet that were sex slaves. He was a novelist, whatever. I don't know. Is it a right? What you know? We don't know. But so Jeffrey Epstein is working for this man who's written some questionable literature, whose son then becomes the attorney general. He's at Dalton, which is a private school.
Becomes the attorney
He's
general.
not a math genius. It's not the guy from A Beautiful Mind. He's not winning Nobel Prizes in mathematics. He somehow links up with Les Wexner, billionaire owner of Victoria's Secret, the limited brands, The Gap, things like that. Then, fast forward, he's got Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father, Robert Maxwell, it's widely believed and written about that this man was an Israeli super spy, that he was a hugely influential member of the intelligence community. He was a media mogul, but he was given high honors with his burial in Israel. I mean, Mount of Olives, this is all real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly, when he died, that guy who wrote the creepy Foreign Planet Sex Slaves book, when he died, he was giving a honorary burial in Israel.
Story for a lot of people feels like, okay, the guy's Epstein's clearly a pedophile, he's a monster. How does a guy like that, who just gets a job at a high school, go to back channeling between Vladimir Putin and the prime minister, the ex-prime minister of Israel? That's the question that a lot of people are having a problem with.
Well, there's a couple of steps between that, right? He goes on after Dalton. I think there's a couple of years that are missing. And then, we will see it in the timeline. There's like 3 years that are missing, I think. And then the next time we see him, he's working in Bear Stearns. Or was it? I don't remember how long time after Dalton. After he was fired in Dalton, he started working in Bear Stearns, the financial firm. And it looks like there was where he learned all the money laundering techniques and all this stuff. So from there, that's the escalation. When you learn how to money launder, you find people that need some money laundering, and then you slowly make contacts, networking. Of course, it took years, but I would take, like Dalton, I wouldn't give that much importance. The obvious important step was his employment in Bear Stearns for a couple years. He was employed. He was fired also for, they catched him stealing money or doing some fraud or some money laundering and shit. So, surprise.
Who made that happen? Who allowed that to happen? I'm sure Epstein was an enterprising person, but from your research, what is the story? How does he get to be in this position, this rarefied air with the quote-unquote Davos set?
Yeah. So he winds up at Bear Stearns out of that Dalton thing, like that Barr's dad gets him that job at Bear Stearns, which was known as, like, as I've researched it more, like a kind of the trashiest investment bank, like the one that would kind of cut corners the most. He cut too many corners, gets edged out of that. But as he gets edged out, and this was in our most recent piece, he goes into business with this guy, Stan Pottinger. Stan Pottinger was a lawyer who is now known to be,
after
former Nixon attorney, deputy attorney general, known to be at the center of Iran-Contra. He was helping to do a lot of the moving of the money and setting up the structures for the
so you see,
Iran-Contra.
Now we have a motivation to learn about Iran-Contra, because it turns out that he was extremely involved in Iran-Contra. So I will probably do, before the next before episode 3 of Epstein, I guess the Iran Contra is gonna be the next podcast breakdown. We're gonna learn about that so we can connect both subjects.
Should probably be called like Iran, Israel, Angola, Contra, like
Right.
because people might not
Israel,
realize, kind of
Angola.
gets written out of it.
Israel and New
The
Angola.
U.S. didn't send the weapons right to Iran because that would have been completely illegal. So
Right.
they
Yeah.
came up with this like scheme where they're like, okay, Israel will send weapons to Iran, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
thinking back, it's like comical. Are you serious?
Right. It's
Israel's
insane.
arming Iran.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So Israel's arming Iran, and then we're replenishing their stocks, and then Shimon Peres, Ehud Barak, and the CIA are taking the loot from the profit.
Ehud Barak used to be prime minister. I don't know if back then, but in the 90s, when he was extremely good friends with Jeffrey Epstein and staying in his mansion in New York, Ehud Barak was the prime minister of Israel during this time. When he went to the US, he didn't stay in a fancy hotel, he stayed in Jeffrey Epstein's house. So Ehud Barak, prime minister of Israel, he didn't stay in the Israeli embassy or a five-star hotel. When he visited New York, he stayed in Jeffrey Epstein's house, the prime minister. Yeah, that's normal. Totally normal.
Profits from Iran and funding the Contras, and then also funding these Angola rebels that the CIA was backing, but that they weren't
I'm gonna
supposed
have
to
to
be
learn
backing
about
because,
Angola.
Jimmy Carter's
Yeah,
saying we're not
during
doing
the
this
days
anymore.
of
And
Idi Amin,
we're not doing all these terribly illegal things with these terror groups. And so Epstein is in business with that guy. He's also associates with Adnan Khashoggi at the time. That's actually coincidentally Jamal Khashoggi's uncle, one of the biggest weapons dealers of the 1980s and 90s. He was also a central banker for the Iran-Contra scandal. And the New York Times mentioned this in their early article. He also knew Douglas Leese, who was this British arms trafficker who also had ties to Iran-Contra. So Epstein is right in the middle of this, and this is a seminal kind of global intelligence scheme.
Right.
That now we all acknowledge. Like, oh, Iran-Contra was a thing. Like, they did all these things, and actually they did more than they've acknowledged. But even what they've acknowledged
And
is
how does he end up
completely
in business with Stan Pottinger? Do you think it's that Jeffrey Epstein is just a morally questionable guy who doesn't mind blurring the lines of what is and isn't appropriate? Is there some other connection? Do they know each other socially? Like, what about Epstein makes him, there's probably a lot of people at Bear Stearns. What about Epstein makes him the guy?
I think that I think they knew each other.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna speed it up because it seems like we have still almost an hour to watch. And with the commentary, I don't really want to go that long. So I hope that's fine. I'm gonna put it at 0.5. If that's too 1.5, if that's too quick for you, then slow it down. Maybe put it at 0.75. And then when I speak, I'm gonna talk like this. But then they will sound normal, I guess. Sorry.
They knew each other socially. That's my sense from the reporting so far. And also, Epstein was building a lot of connections at that time. So he was going back and forth to London a lot. He'd met Khashoggi. He'd met Leese. He's really starting to be
When did
somebody.
he meet Maxwell?
Maybe 1.25, right?
Maxwell's like later in the
Okay.
80s.
Okay.
That's too much.
Did he know her father?
Knew
too
of. I
much.
don't think they met. Actually, somebody like a Whitney Webb who knows this more in a more
Yeah,
encyclopedic.
Whitney Webb is also very good. I'm gonna write her down as one of the probably the podcasts we're gonna watch regarding Epstein, because she is an amazing journalist.
fashion.
Right.
But no, I don't think so, because I think they met when so they met when she came to New York, and she came to New York because things were not going well for her over there because
Right.
he'd fallen off or got pushed off his yacht or whatever. Is it possible they met when he was going back and forth to London? Yeah, but I don't actually know the details of that early part. But when it comes to Wexner, this is something else we had reported on that we weren't the first. People were like, wow, he does power of attorney for this random accountant. How on earth did this happen? Turns out that about a month before Wexner agreed to give Epstein power of attorney, the local police and the local state attorney general there in Ohio were looking very closely at all of Wexner's organization as linked to this like mob-connected assassination of an attorney who was linked to a Wexner company. So
Who's about to testify, this attorney.
right, yes,
Right, yes.
yeah. So the heat is on big time against Wexner, and so whether or not that had something to do with the decision, we don't know. But like shortly after that, the very planes that the CIA was using to do Iran-Contra, Epstein then transitions from that to running Victoria's Secret lingerie and Abercrombie and Fitch stuff from Hong Kong and China.
Guys, please, let's do a quick stop to remind you to like, subscribe, and comment if you have any information, news, or any maybe a link. Hey, I've seen this video about Epstein, blah blah blah, or you have a suggestion what you want to see in a podcast breakdown, something about history, somebody that is interesting, then you can all write it in the comments. I'll pay attention. And yeah, tell your friends. Thanks again. Let's keep going.
So
It's
like
time for sponsorship. I sponsor myself. Please like me.
that's another connection where you're like, hold on, Jeffrey Epstein brought the CIA's like airline to Ohio to work for Wexner, and then when it's done, it goes to Angola where they were also shipping weapons.
So when we're talking about the CIA, we're talking about obviously a very large agency with a lot of power. But as you rightly said, they are not usually the author of the story. They are working for very wealthy people, business interests, things like that. So we're talking about the CIA. We're probably talking about a faction within the CIA or many factions. I don't know. You could maybe
Right.
illustrate this where there's probably a ton of people that show up at Langley every day. They're typing, these reports of they're analysts and they're saying, what did the guy in Pakistan in the cafe say, whatever. Who are the people in the CIA working with Epstein? I'm not saying you even know their names, but can you illustrate who these people are? Are they currently members of the CIA? Are they ex-CIA? Are they in other parts of the government, maybe the State Department, but actually are deep cover CIA agents? Who is helping him arrange air transport with this CIA front company, this airline, and with Les Wexner, in your estimation?
There's this like amoeba like overlap between the leadership of the CIA and the kind of ex-CIA types, who are the former CIA directors, former CIA officials who are now doing consulting, or they're running foundations that have enormous amounts of money, like Wexner's foundation, for instance, is one of the biggest funders of pro-Israel causes. Or Leon Black is, donating enormous amounts of money. Ellison is the biggest donor to like Friends of the IDF. So even if you're not directing a CIA budget, like if you can, through your friends or through your board positions, you can still be moving kind of many millions of dollars. And so it's those people that are former CIA, but they're now in private practice, but they're still associated with the leadership of the CIA, plus then the people who are in the White House itself. So like the political appointees, and that's the kind of network that comes together to do it. Oftentimes, lots of different operations at the same time, and some of them almost at cross purposes. And the ones we learn about are the ones that either blow up or are like eventually successful. But you'll get people together like, okay, here's something I'd like to do in Afghanistan, which is another place they were spending the Iran profits, by the way. And so, all right, how are we going to fund this Afghan project? Obviously, now we're not going to go to Congress. We're not going to like go to the public and say, here's an idea we have. Would you like to use your taxpayer money for it? No, we're going to like find our own sources of money, whether it's through Black Ops, through this like CIA hedge fund, venture capital fund, or through our foundations that are friendly with us, and then we're going to see if it sticks. And if it doesn't, we'll just deny it. And if it does, we'll deny it.
So Epstein in your
because why do things the right way, right? Why follow procedure? Why do taxes? Not taxes. Fuck the taxes. Why follow the law and do everything the right way? Why? Because then there's nothing for them. That doesn't make them rich. And this is the huge problem with the human conditioning. It's like the lack of, oh man, I don't know how to say it. It's impossible for people to not be selfish. Like there's always this greed, there's always this more, and billions, doesn't matter. Are you gonna be able to spend all this money on your days? Of course not. Doesn't matter. More. This fucking greed, is one of the cancers of the world. If people would have a limit, people would realize, you know what, 100 million, I'm good. I'm good for the rest of my life with 100 mil or 10 mil or whatever your limit is, but some limit. And there is a very, very cool movie called with Simon Pegg, British guy, British actor, and something about the search of happiness or something like this, where he travels around the world, and the first person he meets in Hong Kong is this billionaire guy, and he asked him, so money makes you happy or whatever, so which number would make you happy? And his answer was more. There's no number. There's only more makes me happy, which of course is a counter whatever. It's a paradox, let's say, because it's never enough. You will never be happy. So yeah, if we wouldn't have this problem, man, if people would have some kind of threshold, okay, that's enough. Let's, donate the rest or help or whatever. But no, 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 no.
In your mind, this is somebody who
That's why they don't follow rules, by the way.
obviously
They
establishes
need
all
some
these
money,
connections with arms traffickers
power.
and billionaires, people like Les
Yeah.
Wexner. Then he begins to facilitate operations between former government officials, billionaires, arms traffickers, and he's in this world. And so is he a free agent? Meaning, like, is this guy working at the behest of Israel? Is he working at the behest of a foreign government? This is something that I know, and I've talked to some smart people. You talk to more people than I do. I talk to a lot of people that are mentally ill, but they're very interesting, and it's hard to know what's what. And some of the mentally ill people actually sound really credible now. But there is this belief that Epstein was working for Israel, or at least Israeli interests. And it dovetails with the Wexner of it all, the Maxwell connection. Do you think there's credibility to that belief that he's not just a completely free agent, that he is working on behalf of at least Israeli interests?
Well, he also is politically aligned, so it's you wouldn't have to twist his arm to do it, but just from a matter of fact of what he actually did, like we can count a number of different instances where he was doing things on behalf of either Ehud Barak when he was Minister of Defense, or the state of Israel. Like I think you've talked about this in your show before. Like we started simple with a little story about a security agreement they helped cut with Mongolia. It's like not the hugest deal in the world,
Sure,
but like it's to show like how this thing unfolds. He and Ehud Barak use their connections to get a meeting actually literally at Davos with the president of Mongolia, and Larry Summers was there. You got to impress the guy, show him that you are friends with powerful people. Then they cut some weapons deals, and then from there you get a security agreement. Same thing happening in other states as well. So you see like other countries perceiving him and perceiving Ehud Barak, who's a private citizen but going back and forth in and out of government, as the representative of Israel, of the state of Israel. Funny thing is that Netanyahu would agree with that. In fact, he shared some of our reporting, and it created this big scandal in Israel because our reporting connects Epstein more closely to the kind of opposition
the other
in
party,
Israel,
right?
Ehud Barak and what used to be the Labor Party and all that.
Progressive.
And so,
So the left, Netanyahu and the Likud party are the right, or some would call it the far right, and Ehud Barak was the Democrat. So basically, you have Netanyahu is like a Republican, and Ehud Barak was like the Democrat. And I don't know the name of the party, the Labor Party, I guess he said. That's how they call it in the UK. Is that the same name of the party in Israel? I don't know. I just know the Likud party for obvious reasons. It's the only party I know.
Netanyahu's like, aha, see, Epstein, there is an Israel connection, but it's my adversaries. Now we'll have a story out next week about how he connected J.P. Morgan Chase and Netanyahu as part of this what looks to be this like giant gas pipeline deal.
Oh, so Netanyahu is also
involved. He
involved.
was only on the opposition side, but yeah. So, but also Ehud Barak, yes, he's adversarial, like in an intramural league, with Netanyahu, but he's still out there representing Israel's interests.
Right.
But now, was he doing that first and foremost, or was he, was his greater allegiance to the CIA or something? We don't know, but we do know that he was carrying out missions on behalf and that served the state of Israel. Like that's
it's not a controversial statement. Now, what do you make of his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell? You've studied this, you've looked at this. She's looking for a pardon, I believe. She was moved to a much more, I guess, a low security or lower security prison. She's clearly angling to be pardoned.
She said, okay, if you... people wanted to interview Ghislaine. She's in prison, of course. And, of course, a million podcasts wanted to do it. Joe Rogan said I would do it, and everybody wanted to do it. And then at the end, she had some bullshit. I don't even know if it was like an official political, like with lawyers and stuff. I think it was just like a CNN interview or some bullshit like that. Ridiculous. And of course it's like, no, it was just me and Jeffrey and blah blah blah, and I was a victim and he was controlling me and I felt so scared. So she's innocent, she hasn't done anything, and because of this burger of nothing that she delivered in this interview, they said thank you by giving her even lower security prison. So Basically, she got rewarded for doing nothing.
Right.
What is the relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell
Nepotism.
and Jeffrey Epstein from your reporting? Also, what do you think Ghislaine Maxwell may or may not have on the president of the United States?
I mean, they
Good
were
question.
tight for so long that, and I think there could be, they knew Melania for a long time as well, like almost separately.
Who?
Like Epstein and Ghislaine.
How did they know her?
Really?
I think through Jean-Luc Brunel.
Who killed himself?
Yeah.
He was well, Jean-Luc Brunel died, right? Mm-hmm. He was a photographer.
He was a fashion industry
guy, tycoon,
sex trafficker,
and a sex trafficker. And then how did he die? He's dead.
Right, so jail cell also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
A lot of depression. So he knew Melania because she was a model?
That's my memory, yeah.
Okay.
That at very early stages, and Melania is very sensitive about this subject. I think she sued who? Michael Wolff, or she sued somebody.
Okay, yeah, she sued Michael Wolff, I believe, yes.
Yeah, and I think she sued, like, there's another book that was saying that she and Epstein dated or something, so she sued over that. I think Trump and Melania are probably worried about what's in there as well.
What do you think is in there? I mean, I know that you're a reporter, so you don't usually, extrapolate or say things that you can't. But if you could, and I'm not asking you to make wild claims, what does the fear originate from?
Well, so did you see the email that came out just the other day in the latest tranche, where there was one federal prosecutor writing to others, where he said, just as a situational awareness, or whatever the words are they use, looks like President Trump, and this was during the first term, flew on Epstein's airplane, significantly more times than was previously known, and he was also on there twice with Maxwell while there were victims on the plane during the time that we're investigating her for sex trafficking.
Right.
Just a heads up, like, this is something y'all might want to know because this is our boss, like, at this particular moment. Like, that right there, in any normal world, would be utterly devastating. So this is a convicted sex trafficker, Maxwell. Forget Epstein.
She's not convicted at that time, though.
Not yet, but was getting investigated. Now we know she's a convicted sex trafficker, and there were victims on the plane while the president, or wasn't the president yet, but while Trump is on the plane. And so, at best at that point, you can be like, well, I didn't see anything. But everybody else who's ever been around these folks are like, no, this was like debaucherous, disgusting stuff.
Right.
There's no way you didn't see this. And also, we know that, he did that whole thing where he's like, what did he say on Howard Stern? He bought Miss Teen USA so he could, like, creep into the locker room.
Not an ideal statement, for sure. So do you...
Not secretly recorded either.
Did you see the email from Mark Epstein saying my brother was about to name names and I think his murder was authorized by the president?
I hadn't seen that, but...
I don't know, that's in there, I guess. There's fake stuff in there, right?
Cute.
Right, I will say that
fluffy.
It's hard to believe that with the amount of power and the number of friends that he had, that he felt like he had no way out. Like, he considered himself to be a smooth operator, a very powerful person. He's got lots of damaging information about almost everybody in positions of power.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen I don't know anybody who can get you meetings with Putin, Bill Clinton, Sarkozy, like, Netanyahu.
So you don't believe he killed himself?
So it's just hard to see. Yeah, anything's possible, but, like, he was still fighting the charges, and there was no reason to think he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison, given the power that he had.
Right.
What he could offer. But but that's dangerous. But then, it's also very hard to figure out how they could pull it off. But it's very hard for me to get my head to a place where he's ready to just end it.
He's at Ghislaine Maxwell is at Chelsea Clinton's wedding.
Right.
Bill Clinton, there's photos of him swimming in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton's not a rube. He knows what's going on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he knows who Ghislaine Maxwell is and what they're up to. Why is, and I know the answer, I think I know the answer. Why is Bill Clinton so cool with hanging out with these people?
Let me show you how involved Clinton was. Check this painting. Let me see if I can get the full one. So check this painting first, right? That's Bill Clinton in a blue dress. And this painting, I just saw a picture recently in one of the newly released. This painting is located next to Jeffrey Epstein's office. like in his office or on the hallway on the way to the office. Let me see if we can. Aha, look, this is what I mean. Here it is. So that's the one. Can you see it? Sure. We cannot see this text. Doesn't matter how much I zoom, it's illegible. However, this is the painting of Bill Clinton's blue dress. That's Jeffrey's desk. So can you, what can you assume out of that? Was Bill Clinton involved? Let me answer in the chat. And we are not live. So but yeah, answer in the comments. Was Clinton involved? He went how many times to the island? 16? Something like some crazy number?
Yeah, I think, you probably know the answer. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He
think,
basically
you probably know the
answered.
answer.
Why is, and I know the answer, I think I know the answer. Why is Bill Clinton so cool with hanging out with these people?
Yeah, I think, you probably know the answer. It's like, yeah.
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 So,
Right, and-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a problem here. I mean, this is truly a real problem, right? We have a problem if we're supposed to have a democratic society. Now, let's say it's hijacked by money. We all believe that.
Right.
Hijacked by business interests. We all believe that. It's hijacked by oligarchs. Nobody who listens to this show is shocked to hear any of that. What I do think people are shocked by, surprised by, disgusted by, enraged at is how many of these people seem to be either pedophiles or very tolerant of pedophiles. What about the ruling class, in your estimation, makes that the case? That if they're not partaking, they're hanging out with human traffickers and that's okay.
I think if I had to put them on the couch, the way they have lived their life suggests to them that there are no rules.
Yeah.
And I also think partly that once you are a billionaire or once you've been president of the United States or president of whatever country you're from, there's probably a lot of boredom that creeps in.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that was actually going to be one of my analysis. Like, why all of these super powerful billionaires, why are they all perverts? Sick, degenerate perverts. Well, they're bored as fuck, man. Like, they have stolen all the money, gotten away with it, probably killed people, got away with it, and cheated, and, everything. Probably also did some molestation with grown-up people first, got away with it. And then, what else is new? Well, let's go as young as possible, as illegal as possible. You don't have, your hormones are fried after that. You have no more endorphins left. You have no more, what's the name of the hormone? Dopamine left. Probably taking all the drugs, drinking all the alcohol. It's your brain is fried. You become a sociopath in some way because of the boredom and because of so many experience. You already experienced everything without any repercussions. So if you, I don't know if this is a proper analogy, but if you jump out of an airplane without a parachute and then, oh my God, and you land on your feet and everything is okay, you're not even, boom, you would jump from a meter high and not from the airplane.
you
would probably try again. You would probably be like, oh shit, I'm indestructible, So, and try higher and higher and higher. Maybe, I don't know. Terrible analogy, I guess.
They start getting their thrills by pushing into the forbidden.
Right.
In a world where almost everything is
given
available
to them. Yeah.
with ease.
Yeah.
And everyone is nice to them, even the people that hate them.
Right.
That's got to be unsettling.
Well, you have Prince Andrew in the UK, this has been a huge crisis for them, right? Because Prince Andrew has been named by multiple witnesses very credibly and accused of very heinous behavior. The UK police, it was just reported, are now going to ask the FBI for information on some of these UK sex parties where somebody's alleging that he was abused as an underage boy by Ghislaine Maxwell and Prince Andrew and tortured, right? With electric shocks and everything like this in the UK. Now there was a scandal at the Kincora Boys Home in, I believe, Ireland. You know, the Franklin scandal was another scandal in the 80s in Omaha, Nebraska, where Franklin Credit Union was laundering money on behalf of a human trafficker who was peddling children to wealthy and powerful people. Is this something that has been going on forever? And this is something that people are now just kind of waking up to the depravity of some of these people? Like, you know, is this something that you think is, you know, do you have to go back? All the people who said, you know, pedophile shape-shifting lizards run the world, do you have to go back and apologize to them now?
Yes, I think you do. Yeah, I think this level of power also like corrupts people's like souls and their minds.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is another argument for like actual democratic checks on their power on their own behalf too. You don't like we're trying to prevent you from being shriveled up pedophile reptiles.
Is there a quasi-religious element to this? And I mean, and I don't get into the woo-woo stuff all the time, in the sense that like defiling and abusing innocence and innocent children and committing these horrible acts, this obsession with death. You see it with the Skull and Bones stuff, and I always kind of wrote it off as kind of like childish and kind of trying to be edgy and whatever it is. But this obsession with death and these images of, you know, somewhat of the occult and the weird Bohemian Grove stuff where it's like we all stand there and everyone goes, well, it's just a frat party and it's a bunch.
The Bohemian Grove stuff. This is not very famous, so I will show you. Alex Jones, you probably heard of him, the king of conspiracy theories. He predicted the 9/11 attacks. He was actually the one, this is relevant, he was actually the one that was talking about the pedo sex island since way before it was cool, way before it was confirmed. He was the one that uncovered it. So now he's making questionable decisions today, 2020, the end of 2025. Actually, for the last 4 months, he has been making questionable decisions. However, he has a 25-year, maybe 30-year, maybe 40-year track record that it's almost impossible to refute, including this undercover trip that he made to this Bohemian Grove place where they did some rituals dressing like owls, like 100% satanic rituals, dressed like owls and fire and shit. Yeah. We're not gonna watch 1 hour, of course, but maybe I should watch it actually. Yeah. You see? He went to this place undercover and he was witness to one of these rituals. Here he speaks about it, but we're not gonna listen to that. I just want to show the footage, if I can find it. I don't think I can find it. Maybe on X. It might be hard to find on YouTube for obvious censorship reasons. Let's see.
Spectators, or the viewers, I guess an occultist would call them novices, who actually watched as the priest and their supporters engaged in this ancient rite. Now you're looking at a little demon called PJ that was on the front of the actual program. It's kind of an Hieronymus Bosch style.
The program, he got like a brochure with what's gonna happen that night.
A little broom and a dustpan, and he's sweeping something up. Now, even more shocking is...
Here it is. This footage captures the dark ritual known as the cremation of care, where attendees of the Bohemian Grove burn a human effigy to a 30-foot tall owl statue. That's what Bohemian Grove is. Who are those people doing that satanic ritual? We don't know.
it's a bunch of guys blowing off steam, and they're standing there and they're worshiping the owl of Moloch, and Moloch is a biblical symbol, and it's talking about child sacrifice. Truly. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to sound like crazy, and I know that you're a reporter, and you're only going to talk about what you've sourced and what's out there, but, like, is there some strange, genuinely, like, is there some strange belief system where these symbols keep popping up, and these people have this weird, and Tony Podesta's got weird art in his house that's just very odd.
Oh, my God. I don't know if I can show that here, actually. I don't want to get censored or banned in the first week, not even reaching 100 followers, and I'm already getting banned. But just Google it. Google the he shared one. This is one. You have it here on screen. There's one of the Podesta's arts. But there's tons of, like, blood and children in bed with demons and bloody underwear of children. It's just hanging out in his house. Imagine getting invited for a game night. Hey, let's play some fucking Jenga. And then on top of the living room is a little 10-year-old girl only wearing bloody panties and some demon like this. Bro, you're like, you know what? I'm not feeling that cool. It's just gonna fuck off. Man, imagine that shit. No,
truly, right? It's like odd.
Yeah,
it's like I've been in a lot
creepy.
of wealthy people's homes, and I've never seen a picture of a demon holding a baby or what. This art is very strange. Where the artist literally said, I'm working through my own trauma with this art. I don't know. I'm not trying to draw all of these, associations, but, like, do you look at any of this stuff you're reporting? Do you look at any of this stuff in a new light now, where you go, oh, yeah, they believe certain people are disposable, expendable. Mm-hmm. If you're a 14-year-old girl that grows up on the wrong side of Palm Beach, your life is meaningless to them and they can do anything they want to you with impunity. Is there some overarching belief system that fits into?
I do think so. I think it is, like, one of the strongest arguments against inequality, against this runaway, like, insane level of inequality that produces a class of people that is unique, separate, distinct from the rest of the population, and it's got to mess with them. It's got to get in their heads.
Must be horrible.
They don't have to.
I recommend you watch a TV show called Succession. It's about this. It's a family, billionaire family, owner of news, like media empires, hundreds of countries around the world. They control the media of everything. And yeah, watch this show. It's crazy to see how these people live. They're completely disconnected from where we are. It's like another planet.
Worry about the pedestrian concerns that people have of, like, making your mortgage and, like, just staying alive and like keeping your marriage healthy and, like, spending enough time with your kids and, like, just the normal things. So then they have to, like, develop all of these pathologically, like, depraved activities to just keep them, to let them know they're alive.
And this has happened over generations. This is a generational problem. And
it's happened also for thousands of years. Like, if it was just legalized with, harems and all that, over the long arc of history, the difference then was, like, it was like, oh, that's what they do.
How bad does this get for the Trump administration? I mean, they're saying that there's a lot more files that still have not been released. Looking at the material, do you think this gets much worse? Do you think this makes him a lame duck president? Do you think there are calls for impeachment or resignation? What do you think happens?
I mean, I don't think we're looking at impeachment or. Okay. I think it's deeply damaging. I think.
Well, the Democrats are definitely gonna try. Next year, when the Democrats win the House and the Republicans completely lose the power of the House, which will definitely 100% happen, go to Calci or whatever. I'm not giving anyone financial advice, but I am putting money of the Republicans losing the House. And the Dems, they're definitely going to try to impeach him. Are they going to use the Epstein files? Who knows? They will find any reason to do it, but they will definitely try. Probably they'll use this is the easiest, I guess.
There are a lot of people who are, like, single issue, no pedophiles voters.
That makes sense.
So we're like,
Bill Clinton's going to be called to testify?
And I think, yes, they're trying to get him to. And it would be, Steve Bannon went to jail for refusing a subpoena to testify at Congress. It'd be wild if they refuse and, like.
What do you make of that relationship? People talk about Steve Bannon advising him. There's hours of.
That's a very good question.
The Steve Bannon thing is weird because we all thought he was one of us, and then his hands are way too dirty in this situation. What happened? Some cat.
People talk about Steve Bannon advising him, and there's hours of.
That's a very good question.
Wow, cat. It's a black cat who comes in.
No.
Watch out. No. It's Mossad.
Uh-oh.
That's what they do. All right, so Bannon and him, what's that deal?
I think Bannon. I mean, obviously, this is deep into people knowing what Epstein was all about.
Yeah.
I think Bannon understood what an operator this guy was.
Right.
Like Bannon was, if you remember, after 2017, he's trying to go to Europe and become this right-wing kingmaker and turn Europe into this right-wing utopia. He's often working with Epstein. Epstein's connecting him to all these guys, but then he's also giving him all this advice about how he's gonna.
So basically, Bannon. The argument from Brian Grimm is that Bannon was using Epstein for, to make good for for a good purpose, but dude, the ring, man, the Lord of the Rings, the ring, it only has the power to do evil, bro. You cannot use Epstein for good. I don't think so. I mean, I guess you can try, but obviously he didn't succeed and he went to prison for it. But the thing is that what did he find out? Why doesn't he tell us what he knows? He went to prison to refuse a subpoena. Subpoena, I guess, if I'm correct, means that he's forced to testify, right? And then you can claim the fifth if you want, which is basically, I claim the fifth is I claim the right not to self-incriminate. If the lawyer asks you a question and the answer is gonna incriminate yourself, then you have the right to plead the fifth amendment of the Constitution. But yeah, normally when people plead the fifth is because the answer is obvious. So if the question is, were you, Steve Bannon, involved in sexual illegal activities with Jeffrey Epstein, and he goes, I plead the fifth, we'll be like, yeah. Otherwise he can say no, right? He could say no, of course not. If he pleads the fifth, it's obvious that the answer is yes anyway. So it's a risky thing, even if you can plead the fifth. So he's willing to go to prison to avoid from telling the world what he knows. Is it because he's really involved? Is it because his life is at risk? Is he himself blackmailed? A lot of things are possible, but Steve Bannon definitely knows more than he lets, I guess. And he's just at peace swimming in the conservative waters with the rest of us. And that's weird. That is weird. And I'm happy that these people are talking about it and calling it out, because I think it's weird that Bannon is so involved.
His public image, and then he's when Ehud Barak wants to run for Israeli prime minister again, he and Epstein, Bannon and Epstein are talking about working. Bannon wants to work for Barak,
right?
To support Barak, which is wild, also.
Right.
Yeah, and he has successfully dodged a lot of this
for the Liberal Party. Remember that Ehud Barak is like a Democrat, so even though he says he wants to spread right-wing policy and culture to Europe, he goes to Israel and works with the liberals. Huh, bro? Huh?
The scrutiny around this, I think it's because there's no evidence that he was partying with the guy or involved in that part of the depravity.
He was just kind of having some, I don't know, advising him to whatever degree.
He's in, because I think he correctly understood how powerful a role he was playing in the world at that point, which is what so many people deny as a reality.
I'll try to shut up for the rest.
Jeffrey Epstein isn't dead.
No, that would be wild though. That'd be a nice ending to this.
I was told by someone very high up that it was they didn't think this was the case, but there's a small possibility that he's living on Wexner's estate in Ohio because it's so big.
I would assume they'd kill him again if.
Interesting.
What's the point of letting him live?
Right. The old double.
Double double.
Hey, we saved your life. We're taking you to Wexner's estate. Oh, and then we're killing you right here.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Right. They don't want him. He's dangerous. They can't have him around. He knows too much.
He certainly.
Well, I said I wasn't gonna interrupt, but the idea was that he didn't testify. So if he's powerful enough to get away with faking his death, then the goal is anyway the same. It's not like, oh, we want him dead regardless of this, if he's gonna testify or not. If he's assumed dead, if there is no risk of future testifying, then I guess they could have helped him get away with it, right? If it's powerful enough. However, of course, you can have people on the other side thinking that, yeah, he can get caught again. So if that happens, then there's a double problem, because now they have to explain why is he alive. But I don't think this is a 100% real argument, that otherwise they would kill him in West Lexner's office, state. I also heard that he had a full facial, fucking conspiracy theories, full facial reconstruction, and he lives in Israel now, like looking like a different person, totally. Of course, different name, different everything. So, who knows? Who knows? I do think he's dead, to be honest.
Enormous. Like it as a
But
reporter,
like he said, it would be fun if he's alive, but I think he's dead.
and it's been interesting to get such a window into the type of machinations that are usually shielded from the public.
Right.
He had, there were so many things he could have shed light on.
Do you think this scandal, and I think it does, but would you agree that this?
Yeah, I guess
really
let me
sheds
correct. It would be fun if he's alive and we catch him, and things get uncovered. Not the fact that he got away with it and he's alive. That's fun. That's not what I mean. Obviously, that's horrible, but yeah, in the eyes of in the eyes of someone who sees all of these politics things as entertainment of some sort, because I cannot do anything to change it, then I would see that as fun, quote unquote.
sheds light on the way the world actually works in a way that maybe no other scandal has before?
I think so,
In
and I
recent
think,
memory, yeah.
and I think when he was arrested in 2019, people got this hope that they were going to get that look at the way the world actually works, and then it was slammed shut, and now the window is kind of being forced back open a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do think that's right. I think that this is the way that this Davos set operates globally, and the more we know about it, the better.
But would you say that this is also the way that countries like Russia operate, and China, and all of these big, powerful countries?
Yes, I think because we in Western Europe are nominally
Another
democratic.
good question.
We have a slightly greater need for people operating in the shadows.
Right.
Whereas I think that paradoxically, Russia and China can be a little bit more explicit about how they're going to manage their operations.
Right.
Because what are you going to say about it?
Right.
This is what we're doing.
Right. But I imagine that
no
he's
elections.
back channeling, or supposedly trying to back channel with Putin, or this is a guy who's he's working with everybody.
Right. Yeah. He immediately got Barack this $2 million deal with Viktor Vekselberg, big oligarch in Russia. Like as soon as he leaves the Minister of Defense position, he's like, I need money. Like I got your guy.
Right.
We're gonna hook you up with Renova. He's tight with Putin, and it's like how what you have to think about like that alone is like he's tight with the Clintons, he's tight with Trump, or falling out supposedly with Trump, and he's tight with Putin. Like what? How does that square with our understanding of what they tell us the world is?
It's still tough, and you've done such a brilliant job of reporting, and I've read a lot of your stuff. It's still difficult for me to fully understand how that becomes the case, right? Yeah. It's still like when you say, "Oh, he's building connections, doing that," he is clearly, but it's still difficult for me to understand how this happens in the sense of he seems to, how many people in history do you think have been like Jeffrey Epstein, are currently like Jeffrey Epstein? Like, how many Jeffrey Epsteins do we not know about? Right. Is he a one of one? Is he a one of 100? How many people are, would you say, with that deeply connected? And, how many people?
It's a good question, because it takes decades to build those connections up and to build that trust up, to get both sides to believe that this person's going to actually make this thing happen. You probably saw the one email that, to me, there were actually two that were striking to me, where Putin wants to meet with Epstein at this conference.
Yeah.
He wants to meet him on the sidelines of the conference, and Epstein tells Putin's aide, no, if Putin wants to meet, it's got to be at his palace, and we need to set significant amount of time so that we can really hash things out.
Right.
I'm not doing a little brief catch up at this conference. And meanwhile, he set up Barack, and I think it was Sarkozy, not Macron, and a banker for dinner in Paris, and he just blows it off. Epstein's supposed to be there. He's like, I'm not feeling well. God only knows what he was doing instead that night.
Right.
But he's just blowing off presidents around the world. And And how many people in the world are doing that? It can't be that
Didn't
many.
Nicolas Sarkozy have his own sex
That's
scandal? Or am I
fair.
completely wrong?
He's in prison right now for something.
I mean, so it's just, again, it's like this, he's this figure that is, obviously he's a pedophile, he's a monster, he's trafficking women. What is this island? He's got this strange island. He's got Phoenician symbols all over. It's like an odd, what is this? What role does this island play? Getting high-level scientists, people in the tech community to this island. What is this guy, what is he doing? Is that island, do you think it's like a pleasure island where these billionaires are going and they're, meeting underage people? What is he doing with his island?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely doing like what we think he's doing.
Right.
Like there's lots and lots of evidence of that. And I think it's a way to set yourself apart in that billionaire class. It's you got to have an island.
Right.
You got to have jets. You got to have a helicopter. You got to have an island. The ranch in New Mexico, I think, is like serves some of the same purpose.
Right.
But that's a little bit more pedestrian, like having your own island. He also, as we found in a lot of his correspondence, was figuring out these like tax loopholes and tax incentives for like these island-based biopharmaceutical, like you could call something like a biomedical company,
right.
and then all of a sudden you can move billions of dollars through it, and then it's completely laundered. And so, and people have knocked say, oh, like he's not a real accountant. It's like, because he wasn't a real accountant, he was willing, I think, to break the law in a way that other accountants wouldn't. So he was actually able to find like genuinely innovative, quote unquote, innovative solutions for these billionaires to be like, hey, the U.S. Virgin Islands, you can move your money right here, and I know people, and I can shelter it here, and then all of a sudden now it's not taxable, and you also get these incentives, and so he's constantly blending, and as his survivors will tell you, he was like often on the phone, while he's like getting these, starting with the massages and moving into the abuse. So like people are often like, how do you have time to like be a such a global operator when he was also like on a near daily basis abusing girls?
That's what I said at the beginning.
He was literally
BCB.
doing it at the same time.
Right.
And you read his emails, if you've looked at some of those, there's not a single sentence that isn't shot through with typos and grammatical mistakes.
Right.
Like you can imagine him just like engaged in abuse and just like firing off emails to like prime ministers and arranging these meetings. And
what do you think how does this shape the political reality going forward of the U.S.-Israel relationship? Does it have no impact at all? Is there a slight impact? Is there no impact? Because that was one of the questions. Obviously, people are very unhappy about what Israel's done in Gaza, and people are very unhappy about people like Miriam Adelson and whatever. Do you think there's political, diplomatic fallout from this tranche of documents that's going to come out where people go, this is a damaging, this is damaging the U.S.-Israel relationship, or do you think it won't?
I mean, I think so, because I think eventually the rest of the press is going to have to start reporting on the reality of it, because it'll end up being similar to the lab leak question, actually,
right.
where you still maybe to this day do not have mainstream media approval for the idea that COVID leaked out of the lab in Wuhan. Yet if you do a survey of the American public, something like 80%, I think at this point, maybe higher.
I didn't know. I mean, he's probably more informed than me, so I don't want to be arrogant and say that he's wrong. But from what I heard, it's already confirmed. It was already kind of in the New York Times or in the Times magazine, like huge outlets that it's like, is COVID a lab leak? So I think it's already confirmed. I might be wrong, and Ryan, of course, might be right. But I think it's already like part. Of course, it's just whoever is left saying no is just gaslighting, refuse to accept the evidence. Kind of the people that still say there's more than two genders and stuff is that the people that always said it. It's like basic biology. Ignore the science and just to make us feel better. So this would be the only people, but I think it's already 100% confirmed that it's a lab leak.
Or like, it came out of a lab. And so even if, I think you could see the same shift here, like even if the mainstream media refuses to touch any of the like public information, public documents and correspondence that connect him to working on behalf of Israel, a year or two from now, you poll the public, was he working on behalf of Israeli interests? You think you'll get like a 70-80%.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he was solely working on behalf of Israeli interests.
Of course.
But yeah, so I think that they won't be able to hold that back.
Right.
And so, and it coming in the context of both the genocide and also this like insistence that you're not allowed to criticize the genocide, is just going to add up to be just too much. I don't know what political party is going to be unapologetically pro-Israel going forward. Neither of them really.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it'll be a popular position. Two more questions, and I appreciate you doing this. Having done all the reporting you've done on Epstein, on his connections, on the extent to which he was involved in global politics, and the way that network of people, you talked about ex-intelligence, leaders of countries, do you feel at a certain point, and again, this is asking you to kind of pontificate, that system there's going to be a threat to that system, and that is that because we have more technology, we have a new media landscape, you can't control the narrative as much as you could. Is there going to be a threat to that system? Or, and I would be the cynic and say not really, because they don't really care. Like that's my thing. My thing is they don't care. They know that we know. We know that they know that we know. It doesn't seem to matter to them. Do you think it matters to them that we can get millions of people to watch this?
That's a better question.
Rogan can get. Do they care at all or not really?
I think it bothers them a little bit because anything that they can't control unsettles them. I think that you're right that they still have things firmly under control, but they don't have everything under control. And so I think that bothers them. And I think, and it's no secret, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, but I think a lot of the public thought that Donald Trump was actually going to be a threat to this system.
Yeah, clean the swamp.
It's been extremely demoralizing to people to see the opposite come about, to see him
clear the swamp. No,
what do you make of J.D. Vance, out of curiosity?
Well, since he's not connected to this, he could at least make hay out of it, right?
Yeah.
But I think he's probably boxed in because he can't get ahead of Trump on this, so he's kind of stuck as well. He can speak in generalities, and now he's probably unleashed a little bit now that Trump has been pressured into releasing the files, so he can. But before that, he had to walk this fine line where he wants transparency, but he can't contradict his boss either. How do you think he's handled this?
Well, I think he's in this interesting position, right? Because he's got to have loyalty to Trump. But I also think that he's seeing his own political aspirations get negatively impacted by this, right? I mean, that's obvious. So I don't really know, but it seems to me that he's in a weirdly untenable position because Trump's not running again, and Trump's old, and Trump's made his money. I mean, and I don't know. I don't know how far he'll I don't know how damaging this gets. That's a real question, right? How bad does it get for the White House? And then is JD willing to go, hey, not me, final thing, there have been lots and lots and lots of speculation about two events. Now, I don't know how much you've looked into any of these events. One was the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. The second is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. These have inspired lots of discussion across multiple platforms with many high-level people weighing in, and they've caused massive, problems within the conservative movement, and even to a lesser extent, but even, on the other side, you have, I think, certain fissures over issues like this, where you have people that are accused of conspiracy mongering and doing it for profit. And you have people that are like, well, no, I'm going to accept the official narrative of the FBI, which is now being run by Kash Patel. And I think you find a lot of people somewhere, like I find myself in the middle of not being an investigative journalist, but also having no faith in Kash Patel and the FBI. On those two issues, where would you put yourself?
I've actually found it really interesting that in the two cases, like the Charlie Kirk one to me does actually seem pretty straightforward. The FBI bungled it from start to finish,
right?
And some of it is weird, but it does seem to me what looks like to have happened, mostly to me is what happened. Whereas on the Butler one with Trump, that is a complete mystery. It's a ghost of a person who doesn't exist on social media for the most part.
Yeah. Thomas Cook
nicks the guy's ear climbs up there casually from
no silverware
yards out. And that one is the one that was just kind of moved. Everyone's kind of moved on from it, and instead focuses on the Kirk one. That part to me is kind of an interesting. That's not how I would have expected.
Well, I guess there's two big reasons for that. One of them is the obvious one, the fact that the Thomas Cook attack in Butler, Pennsylvania, last year, when was it, June, maybe July, was not successful. Donald Trump is still alive. Charlie Kirk died in front of us, in front of everybody on camera. So I guess that shock gives people a little bit more push and motivation, and the fact that Charlie Kirk is not here anymore, for the fans and stuff. So of course, if you were a big fan of Charlie Kirk, then that gives you push to really find out what's going on. If Donald Trump would have died, I am sure it would have been the same and worse. And worse. It would probably be civil war. So I don't know. But I think that would be one reason. Another reason is... Oh, there's not another reason. Because Thomas Cook's was horrible. Like they went to his apartment. It was scrapped clean. And he had no cutlery, no social media. Like digital fingerprints deleted, actual fingerprints deleted, and it's just very, very weird. But somehow he's right. For some reason, I don't really care anymore that much, because he survived and won. Probably that was, I mean, many people say that when they saw Donald Trump survive that, including Joe Rogan, for example, he said he won. Immediately. You saw them rise, fight, fight, fight. He won. And I thought the same. He won. 100% he's going to be president. So maybe that's why.
Expected them
And
to
Trump
shake out.
never really brings it up.
Yeah, and because I guess they
That
never
is
were able to,
weird.
like, if it would have been a
That
liberal
is
kid,
weird indeed.
then, or even if it had been a right wing kid, like
Right.
you need something. There's with nothing to grab onto.
Does Israel bomb Iran before the midterms?
They certainly want to.
Right.
They're agitating. Netanyahu will be here on Monday for his 6th trip.
What do they have on? Why is the president so docile when it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu?
I don't know. He doesn't seem to like him interpersonally.
No.
Like when you look at their body language,
Right.
and yet, and it's truly amazing. I saw your clip about him and Miriam Adelson, which was still delightful. It is lovely.
I
that
mean, they
have
are
built such
friends.
a-
Here's the thing with him and Miriam. They're just buds. You can tell that.
Yeah.
You can tell he actually likes. There's very few people you can tell Donald Trump actually likes. I think he really likes Miriam Adelson.
I think he's
Miriam
also
Adelson, yeah.
I think he's also amused by her and
250 million?
Yeah.
like obsession with Israel.
Yeah.
He always like negs them about it. Like,
Yeah.
man, you really love Israel. It's like the only thing you care about. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It just seems very interesting to me that he's such a, wildly unpredictable guy on every single issue except this one issue. Like, he's been for and against things. He'll go, we're doing this, we're not going to do it. I like this person, I don't like this person. He gets in feuds quickly, he fires people, but he loves Miriam Adelson.
I mean, he's got 250 million reasons and counting.
That's right.
Yes, his whole selling point was that wasn't who he was, and it's like we can't even get that.
And 250 more if he decides to run for a third term. Oh my God, that was hilarious to watch when Miriam offered him 250 million if he runs for the third term. And everybody's like, are we living in a parallel universe when you're allowed to get elected more than twice without changing the constitution? Or are you just telling us in our face that there's not going to be any more elections and fuck your democracy? They're implying dictatorship in our faces. So it's just, oh man, the hubris, you know?
Can you get that?
Is anyone going to be the president when that's not who they are?
I don't know if like,
Again,
Is anyone going to be the president when...
context.
I mean, he's got 250 million reasons and counting.
That's right.
Yes, his whole selling point was that wasn't who he was, and it's like we can't even get that.
Is anyone going to be the president when that's not who they are?
I don't know if like, right? I guess the whole problem with he was so over leveraged and struggling in 2016. Like he wasn't an actual billionaire, so we need some actual billionaires, I guess, if we're gonna.
That's what you've heard it here first. Ryan Grimm's more billionaire
More
leaders.
billionaires.
More billionaires. Well, listen, enjoy
Put
the
them all in
holiday.
one place. We can put bars around the place.
Happy New Year. Where can people follow your work? You're doing some of the best reporting right now in the country on this.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at dropsitenews.com, and then Monday through Fridays we're putting up shows at breaking points. But yeah, we're reader funded. So let me put in a blog, reader funded over at Dropsite. So if you can, everything is free, but if you can become a subscriber or a donor, it's a nonprofit. Hey, you still have a few days to get your charitable contributions in.
Get
So,
your
there you
charitable,
go.
get your contributions in. I wish I could subscribe. I've given my yearly charitable contribution to
Excellent.
Israel in the form of my agent, and that's where my money will go. Ryan, thank you again for making time to do this on a holiday weekend. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
All right, thank you so much.
So I am going to subscribe to Dropside News because these guys are really doing amazing work. He's right, and they are a non-profit, so I can help at least with a sub for the moment. And then I will also sub to Breaking Points because I don't follow them yet on this account. Ah, no, I do. Okay, cool. All right, good. So that was the interview with Ryan Grimm, one of the most knowledgeable and leading investigators on the Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of interesting stuff that we didn't know, and oh man, a lot of confirmations of things that I heard that we did know, and yeah, good to know that a lot more documents are gonna be released. I had no idea about that. I mean, I think there's never gonna be enough documents. I mean, there's always gonna be some documents to release. We just need to keep pushing. And when they say there's no more documents, we push even harder, because that's what they told us 6 months ago. What Epstein files are you talking about? And now they're releasing. So they're obviously lying. They're obviously hiding a lot, and we need to keep pushing. And this is one of the reasons I'm making this kind of segment of sorts, is just to spread the word. Never stop talking about this. We need to find out what the hell is going on. If the leaders of the world where we live, where we pay taxes, the people that we're supposed to see as our leaders, and the people that let's say put the rules, make the laws, control us, if they are depraved, pedo, satanic, I don't know, blood drinking vampires, demons, then I will really want to know about it, you know. And I guess you too, everybody does. So that's it for episode 2. Very, very interesting stuff. We wrote some notes. I'm gonna start filling up the timeline, as I said at the beginning, and we already have lined up the next interview that we're gonna watch. It's also very, very interesting. Another perspective, a lot more names, and also updates. And yeah, for now, I have been Rafael Andres Contreras with El Racist Latino for Who is Jeffrey Epstein episode 2. And thank you for listening. I'll see you again very soon. Peace.